Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fetola Accessing Green Finance for Small Business webinar. Thank you so very much for joining. We hope that this is a value-added experience for you, that there's some things that you walk away with some new insights and learnings, as well as some guidelines and opportunities on how you can access resources to help grow your businesses for the investors and ecosystem partners on the call, partnership opportunities that can be formed as a result of this. And we have both the demand side of the market, being small business owners and entrepreneurs in the green economy and circular economy wanting to grow their businesses, as well as impact investors, funders, and ecosystem partners that invest and support green SMEs. So without further ado, I'm going to start the session now. My name is Grant Prince. I lead our social impact investing team at Fetola. We work with a number of clients in managing their social impact funds. We also have a couple of green funds that we'll share a little bit more detail on later on. We only have an hour together. So really what we're hoping to do in this webinar is to share a little bit of a landscape snapshot with you. So what is the landscape and the financing options for green and circular business actually look like in South Africa? How many funding options are available? How do you as a small business owner actually get your hands on the money, and is it as difficult as they say it is? So we're really hoping to share some tips with you, particularly in the last segment. So don't go away. There's lots of pro tips and kind of insider information that we have to share with you a little bit later on. We have some amazing guest speakers in Isabel the Toit, who's heading up an amazing kind of online platform that brings together businesses, funding opportunities, market and innovation opportunities. She'll share a little bit about that. And then we also have a real life impact investor in Maluta who will share the investor's perspective with us, and concluding with hopefully some Q&A and some interaction from all of you on the call. So just a little bit of context and kind of an overview of the landscape as we see it. So the green economy presents a massive growth opportunity, not only for small businesses to grow their businesses in, but also for investors, whether it's on the impact side or on the commercial side. And I think, we all know what's happening with our climate. And so we really have to act with urgency. And there's a lot of interest and attention that's going to continue to flow into this area. So with that comes a lot of tailwind and opportunities for growth, which is what we're all about, and which is fantastic. So just a reflection then on why are we talking about access to finance? It's a critical lever for which to grow small businesses, but also to grow the economy, right? Without money, it's very difficult to do anything in this world. And we do know that access to finance is a known challenge in South Africa, but also across the world. In South Africa, we've got a very matured financial sector. So very safe banks, very safe finance institutions, well-regulated, but not really very supportive or well-structured to meet the needs of majority of small growing businesses, right? So well-structured for matured, established companies, but really there's a gulf that has kind of emerged as a result of some of the structural rigidities there. So there's a lot of kind of there's a missing middle. Early stage businesses are struggling to access finance from the formal financial sector. The cost of finance is one element that that makes access to finance quite difficult, particularly if you are in the early stages of your business growth journey. Information asymmetries, so this is not having the right supporting documents to properly to have a successful application, your deal readiness, so your ability to pass through due diligence, that actually hampers your chances of a successful financing outcome. And all of these act as barriers to financial inclusion, right? So what our data has shown, as corroborated by the national FinFine data, is that a lot of the funding requests from our own entrepreneurs that have passed through our programs are less than R1 million, so in the small ticket size range, right? And that kind of reflects the market of SMEs and the development journey of the small business. So a lot of the funding requests are less than R1 million, where from an investor perspective, the preference is really to fund larger ticket size deals. So there is also a bit of a mismatch in terms of funding preference. So what does this mean for you as a green or circular business, right? As a green or circular business, the picture doesn't look any different. So there's no special treatment if you are building a business in the green economy. In fact, some might argue that the challenge is even more difficult because the green economy is a relatively young or nascent sector. So we are just starting to understand various business models and what's possible in the green economy. Some green business models have a high level of innovation risk. That means that, you know, we have to kind of really convince customers sometimes to take up products. There's a lot of education and adoption hurdles to overcome. Green businesses are typically designed to start small, but they can grow and scale quite rapidly, right? With the right amount of capital invested at the early stage. Their balance sheets are not well capitalized, so there isn't a lot of assets, fixed assets on the balance sheets to provide collateral and comfort to this very mature financial sector market. Green investments typically as well have very little transactions precedent, so there isn't a deep database of transactions on which investors can rely on to make further investment decisions, and they typically fall outside of the risk appetite threshold adopted by funders. So that's a lot of jargon. What does all of that mean? I think all it means is that whether you're operating in the green economy or not, access to finance is a challenge, but there are definitely things that you can do to overcome and to narrow your gap to accessing funding. And we're hoping to share a little bit about that with you further on this call. But what it does mean for a green or circular business where, you know, your business model is quite innovative or quite new, and maybe from the funding landscape there isn't a big appetite to invest, or, you know, people don't, the opportunities don't come as quickly. It means that maybe, you know, what are the things that you can do to put yourself in the best position to actually access green finance. And so we'll share some of those tips with you a little bit later. Excellent. Cool. Does that make sense? Are we still together? Yes,
we're
no?
still with you.
Are you still with me? Excellent.
Yes, we're still.
Yes.
So in terms of the number of financing products or options available for the green or circular business in South Africa, what are they, how many are there, and what type of financing is the most available, right? So the research that we've done actually showed that financing for green and circular business models in South Africa is still growing. Approximately 26% of all financing products aimed at green or circular SMEs are available. So that's just close to about 150 out of the 600 total amount of funding products available. So we can see that there's, from an investor's perspective, there's definitely an opportunity to grow. And I think, there's an opportunity to kind of, lean some of your mandate towards the space, because there's some exciting things happening. We're seeing a lot of movement on the ground with our funds, and speaking to some of our partners, there's definitely a lot of interest flowing into the space domestically. So that's quite exciting. But who's actually driving the investment, right? Where's the money coming from? So if you look at the graph on the left, which is the spread of green and circular financing mandates, all that means is, who's funding green or circular businesses in South Africa. You can see there that 42% is from development finance institutions. So these are normally, government-backed institutions or large development funds like Development Bank of South Africa, African Development Bank. Those kinds of large players are funding a large portion of green and circular projects, but they tend to be at a relatively matured stage and significant amounts of funding, right? With a significant and scalable impact. So it's large infrastructure projects or energy or waste projects that are funded through the DFI sector. This is followed closely by private equity. So the private equity market is quite healthy in supporting green and circular businesses. And then also on the podium is the commercial banking sector. So commercial banks typically have various options available to businesses operating in the green economy. And we have somebody from one of the banks that will be speaking a little bit of, not about the funding options, but just what they are doing differently in that space. Then on the types of funding available, so leading the charge there is equity investments, and that makes sense because it's driven by DFI contributions, and that is then followed by loans. So we can see there that the grant funding portion is quite small, and maybe there's an opportunity for the ecosystem, for the supply side, so for investors and large DFIs to really look at the capital stack and how fund capital is actually flowing into the market, right? So what does that mean then for the financing spectrum and for the different types of funding available to small businesses at different stages of their development? So if we consider the funding spectrum on the slide, what we'll see quite clearly is that there's a lot of money available to businesses, at the established or early growth stage. So that's from 4 years. If your business is 4 years and older, there tends to be, a bit more money available from the commercial side and from the sub-commercial side. For seed and startup businesses, you're really only going to find joy in competitions, in structured business growth programs that are kind of set up to grow green and circular businesses, like Fetola's Circular Economy Program is one example. There's GSIP, which is the annual competition driven by TIA. Then the CSIR recently also launched a few. The IDC also has a couple of initiatives, as well as Indalo and some other organizations focusing at the very early stage. But what we can see from this view is that, and what we know from experience is that at the early stages there really is a greater need or greater demand for capital, but there isn't enough supply to meet that demand, right? And then as the business grows and becomes more mature, there tends to be an oversupply. So there's a lot of money in the system, and I mean, as a ESO and enterprise support organization, we get approached quite a lot from investors like John to say, are there good businesses that are good investment opportunities for us. And at the moment, you know, there's quite a large appetite for fund established and early growth businesses. And so the job that we have is to move businesses along the funding spectrum from grant funding to alternative finance to commercial finance. And what you can also see from this view is that I've referred to grant funding and concessional funding as a funding set, and then alternative finance and commercial finance as a funding set. Now that has implications for how your application is structured, you know, and how you can prepare your business and your funding application to actually be attractive to the funders in the market. So definitely a role for investors to play at the earliest stages of the business growth journey. And for those investors on the call, I would encourage you to consider that. You can speak to us, and there are various other organizations that specialize in growing businesses at the early stage, because those are really the businesses that eventually become early growth and established, and become the market or the demand side for funding in the commercial and alternative financing space. So yeah, there's a lot there, but I'm going to stop there at this point. And if there are any questions related to this, please put them in the chat. I'll try and respond to you as best I can. And hopefully we can give some feedback on it during the Q&A session. Cool. This is just a brief overview of the green or circular funding options that we have within Fetola. The first one on the left is the Nedbank Green Economy Fund. This is a national green economy fund available to businesses in the Nedbank ESD ecosystem. It's grant funding, and it looks to provide funding in the ranges of 50,000 to 250,000. It's administered by Fetola, so all the information is on our website, and I'm happy to speak to it a little bit later on, after we've spoken to our guest, who we'll speak to next. And then we also have our concessionary loan fund administered by Fetola, which is a low interest loan fund and provides working capital loans to green and circular businesses, initially in our network, to be grown to be released into the market after the trial period. Cool. So that's just a kind of a deeper look into that magnifying glass there that I've zoomed on for you in the financing spectrum. But as mentioned, happy to speak to you know, or provide any clarity or details during the Q&A. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Are we still together?
Yes, we are still with you.
Yeah, was that useful?
Very important, this session.
Awesome. Okay, so next up we have two amazing individuals, and our guest speakers for this webinar this afternoon. Our first guest speaker is Isabel Toit. She's the Hloolo Program Manager and Sustainability Lead at Fetola. She brings more than a decade of experience in business development. She leads a number of our national programs and initiatives that empower businesses, their communities, and the environment, which is an important piece to thrive. So it's about really making the difference in greening our activities, and helping us to stay on the right path when it comes to environmental sustainability. Isabel, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for being on the call. Much appreciated.
Absolutely, such a pleasure. Yeah, we're just really happy to share. We're really happy to share what's going on in the Fetola world at the moment with our new platform.
Awesome, Isabel. Thank you very much. So, Isabel, we're here to talk about Hloolo. What is Hloolo? you know, what does it do and what's the purpose?
I'm going to start with it doesn't matter if you say it wrong, everybody, because we all will at some point. So Hloolo, Hloolo, however you say it, the right way to say it. We're very happy with that. So what is Hloolo? Hloolo is a platform that we've come up with as Fetola in partnership with Nedbank, JP Morgan, and Embassy of Finland. Still seeking other partners, guys, just putting the word out there for that, to really bridge that gap. So we have designed a platform that connects SMEs, particularly focusing in on climate-friendly SMEs, but not being exclusive, to the world of investment, market, and knowledge. We are currently operating within South Africa and really developing that ecosystem and getting ready to launch this platform, but really hoping to make this an Africa-wide platform that solves for this challenge, which is that gap that you were talking about earlier between what the investors need and what the SMEs can provide at the moment. And so we'll give access to knowledge and skills development, industry experts through our platform, as well as actually matching people to the right investment or market or knowledge that will put them to the next level and help them really grow their business.
Awesome. So it sounds like it's an online platform that serves a connecting role in bringing these different opportunities, tools, resources closer to the small business.
Yes, and making sure that actually it's relevant. So relevant content, relevant investment, relevant market. Because I think that's also kind of missing out there. There's just so much information. I'm sure everyone in the room can agree with that. Anybody that's an SME or an investor, there's too much information out there. You almost feel like you're drowning in resources and information that everyone says is right for you. So we're going to try and curate that for you.
Awesome. Will it be better than ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay.
It won't make up answers.
Okay. Okay. It won't ask us to read more.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thanks, Isabel. So Isabel, given the access to financing, and for green and circular SMEs is particularly challenging, as outlined. How does Hloolo aim to resolve this? You know, so yes, it seeks to connect businesses to funding options, but how, given that access to funding is already so difficult, how will Hloolo seek to bridge that gap or make it a little bit easier?
So we're not seeking necessarily to solve the world's problems. We hope that we can try our best to solve the current challenge, which is the mismatch in need and expectation from the SME and from the investor alike. And so that's really where we're focusing our attention, is developing and building this kind of like pipeline. So what we'll have access to is SME and investor insights, providing people with more insights into like knowledge, what's out there, what are people looking for. Webinars like this would be something that we would be very into, and we'll be partnering with other people to provide. We'll also be putting the power in the hands of the entrepreneur, which I don't think a lot of other platforms and things do. Which is to say that, yes, there's a lot of finance out there, but are you actually ready to access that finance? And what are the gaps? So let's give you a scorecard. Let's provide you with the gaps that are missing, and let's help you actually plug those gaps. So I think that's really where we're going to help to solve that challenge, and and plug the hole that's currently existing in this market.
Yeah, I think that would be super useful. You know, like working on the investment side myself. You know, it's I mean, running your business and then still having to know what to put into a funding application or know what's expected of you. It's like two jobs. So if there was a tool that could make it easier, you know, and allow small business owners just to focus on building their businesses, that could be really useful, and help a lot, you know, kind of in helping them achieve their goals. So, I mean, so there's a funding matching element. And as you know, this is, there are quite a number of funding matching platforms out there. How does this one, or how does Hloolo seek to differentiate itself, and what additionality will it bring into the ecosystem? So how is it different to all the other, funding matching solutions out there?
I find, and I'm open to somebody sharing different matching platforms that maybe meet all these things, because then we can collaborate with them. But I find that a lot of the matching platforms that currently exist do one thing very well, which is providing you with a database of funders.
Yeah.
And that's basically really all that's going on, is they're matching you to funders, but they're not solving all the steps before that matching takes place. And so I think Hloolo is really about the journey. It's about the journey, and it's about partnership, and it's about collaboration. And so we're not trying to pretend that we have answers, but we're partnering with industry experts. So you've mentioned FinFind a few times in this presentation of yours, with the kind of data that they have access to and everything. FinFind will be partnering with us to do the matching. They're experts in that. We're going to be partnering with other environmental organizations to create content that really helps people level up their sustainability practices, be able to actually track their sustainability practices. Because I don't know about you, but that is the hardest thing ever, is actually keeping track of those sustainability practices. And then, of course, actually getting your investment readiness and market readiness up to par, so that when the finance is there, you can actually access it. So it's more about the journey than it is about just being a platform.
So even if I don't need financing or funding right now, I can still get some benefit out of Hloolo and out of the user journey on the platform.
Absolutely. So just start the journey. Once you know what your investment readiness score is, what your market readiness score is for your business, it's so much easier to plan ahead.
I'm really at that point, and I don't have to wait 6 months. Yeah,
got all the little boxes ticked. Yeah,
cool. That's a great point, Isabel. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So we've got both entrepreneurs, investors, and other ecosystem players on the call. As a business owner, how can I participate?
Well, to kick off, I just want to say we have not officially launched this platform yet. So please, if you're an SME or an investor alike, just register to join the launch. We'll be doing a formal launch soon, and the first 50 of SMEs to sign up for that will be getting a really, really, really great surprise. So I'm not going to give away too much. Grant said to me earlier, it's election time, we're allowed to make promises, but I said to him, it's going to be real promises that we actually follow through. So there's a big surprise for the first 50 that sign up for the launch. And then we really want this to be a collaborative platform. So we welcome insights from both parties, from investors and SMEs, on what they think the platform could be doing better, who they think we should be partnering with. We're treating it almost like a Wikipedia, but much prettier. And then and all your contributions will be welcome and will be helping us to develop an actual platform that really works for everyone involved. And then if you're interested in partnering or finding out more, please just get in touch with us. We'll pop the email address in the chat. It's hello@hloolo.co.za, but I'll pop it in the chat so that you, and the link.
Awesome.
I'll pop the link to the launch as well. So
awesome. I'm definitely gonna register, Isabel, to be in line for that surprise. I like surprises.
Cool. Great, Grant. We might have to
Thank you so much, Isabel.
That's cool.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and enjoy the symposium.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Awesome. That was Isabel, guys. How exciting.
Very awesome.
Oh, Ivan. Okay, Ivan, I see you've had your hand up for some time. I'll allow it. Go for it. Hello, Ivan. Okay, I'll ask you just to mute your mic, and we'll take the question a bit later. Thanks so much, Isabel. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Grant.
Awesome. Okay, next we have incredible human being, and somebody that I've had the privilege to know and work with, Maluta, impact investor and senior portfolio lead at the Nedbank Foundation. He leads the green economy portfolio and has done some amazing stuff in recent times over there. Maluta, are you on the call with us this afternoon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Cool,
My
cool.
picture showing. Am I showing?
Yes, you are. You are visible.
I can't see myself.
You can't see. Matlatsi, please, can we spotlight Maluta there?
Please show me. I'm more comfortable.
Yeah, it's very important. Maluta, nice to see you.
Oh, good.
You know, you've got we're so honored to have you this afternoon. You've got extensive experience in the development finance space, in banking and credit. So your perspectives are really useful and valuable to everyone on the call. We've got entrepreneurs, we've got impact investors, ESOs. So really the whole village this afternoon. And just really looking forward to kind of hearing about what you're doing with your green economy portfolio, what opportunities you're seeing out there. You know, and how do we do better as an ecosystem to really make a genuine impact and transform the country. So Maluta, as an impact investor and the portfolio lead at Nedbank Foundation, what's the focus area for you right now, and what kind of sectors are you prioritizing?
Yeah, I think we've got I think a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, we took a conscious decision to change our strategy from, you know, almost supporting anything and anyone to one that is very much targeted at creating new, sustainable, circular enterprises, right?
Yeah.
And then we focus very much in rural and peri-urban spaces because we feel like that's where most development is required. That's where we feel like there's more opportunities for growth. And then we also want to solve some of the social issues around, you know, overpopulation in terms of in the metros, you know, unemployment. You know, if you create like good projects in rural spaces, you're able to see that. I was fortunate to travel in Eastern Cape last week in Matats and Sikisiki, and the amount of potential there is insane. I mean, there's so much going on. So rural and peri-urban. And then we, in terms of sectors that we focus on or we support or invest in is agriculture, but not just, you know, the conventional side of agriculture, because, I mean, agriculture is one of those sectors that have really wreaked havoc in terms of biodiversity, in terms of when it comes to monoculture and all those things. So we're looking to fund things that are sort of along the lines of regenerative and conservation agriculture, urban farming, and all those things. And then in terms of energy, we're looking into renewable energy, alternative energy, and then we also look at water and sanitation in terms of clean drinking water as well as sanitation as well. And then last but not least, waste management. And awesome. All of them, they've got the entrepreneurial lens, because we believe those are the guys that will be creating the jobs that are required to boost the economy, to empower communities out there. Thanks.
Awesome. So you've got a less risk-averse lens that you use in screening investment opportunities.
I would say
as an impact investor, you're not just looking at the
funny enough, Grant, I used to be a credit manager, but I was like very unorthodox in the way that I used to do things. I didn't
Okay.
really care much about creating policies. It was just more about intuition and then being able to understand. I think that's also how we work now. I like to listen a lot in terms of guys that are in the space, in terms of ESOs, right? That have been in the space, that have got the data, that understand the landscape and what's required, what are the challenges. But then I also speak to the enterprises themselves. To understand what are the challenges. For example, why are they always in some sort of a program, for example, you know? So I work in that way, which works. And as you've seen in our relationship, we sort of on and off air, we talk and we understand. And then you might say something off air that you'll find that all of a sudden we are pushing on air, you know?
So I'm hearing that you never at home.
I'm never at home. My marriage is suffering. I'm never at home, but you know, when you're doing this type of work, you need to always be out there. But obviously one will make time for family. But you need to be out there to realize that if you want to solve the challenges that SMEs are facing, right? You really need to be where they are, in the spaces in which they are operating, and then you really need to be solving the challenges. And it's not easy to solve those challenges because some of them, those are systemic problems that you're trying to, to solve for. You know,
you mentioned something very important, Maluta. Thank you for that, which is the data part. And then really kind of meeting with the entrepreneurs to understand the investment opportunity. Is there anything else, in your screening process, one or two things that you think are important for entrepreneurs to know, or anyone that, you would interact with, in terms of what makes a viable investment opportunity before you actually go forward with reviewing it? Like, what do you want to see, that could say, this could be a successful project, or this could be a successful investment opportunity for me?
I think obviously, like when it comes to banking, because I'm a banker, right? I mean, I've been a banker for a long time. So in traditional banking, they will look at things like, I don't know if you've heard of 4 legs of the tiger, right? You know, you look at the jockey, you look at their financial repayment, you look at the collateral, you look at all these things. But in our space, because we're trying to use our funding as the catalyst, right, to unlock all these opportunities that are scalable, and sustainable, you need to take a different approach. I think the attitude is still the one thing that you'll never shy away from. As a business owner, someone trying to build a business, you need to have the right attitude, understand the sector fully in which you want to operate, understand that you've got shortcomings as a person, understand that you've got business development gaps. Either you need to know more about financial literacy, understand what a balance sheet is, what is its purpose, understand income statement, cash flow, all these things, the importance of saving, and then one is to then understand also why as a business you need to be adopt sustainability practice like circular economy and all that stuff, for resilience and all that. And then the other thing is about, you need to have like very deep love and caring for the community in which you are operating, right? Almost like a steward, basically.
100%.
Then you really understand the challenges, and then you then look for solutions that are going to solve for those challenges. Not this thing that you saw in America, they put up a solution and you're like, this might work in South Africa. It doesn't work. It doesn't
100%,
work.
100%.
You really need to engage with the communities, have deep love for the community as well, because in community engagement is important. And then the other one, obviously you need to be aligned to our strategy and our outcomes, in terms of the green economy strategy, which we feel like, we want to make it the heart of the economy, because the economy really needs that, that boost to create the jobs. You need to understand that you need to create the jobs, all that, and empower the communities. So those are the three. I mean, they are very almost soft kind of, but they're not like very hard skills that one need to. So for me, that's what I look for when I look at this. The other stuff you can add, you know, the other stuff you can go and get them. But if you are looking at this, especially the first two.
I agree with you. The soft stuff is massive, and you're almost picking on that a little bit more than the hard stuff is assumed, but the soft stuff is critically important because the business is at an early stage of its growth, and so there's a lot of challenges that still need to be overcome. So you really want to make sure that it's the right people that you are partnering with. Thank you so much for that, Maluta. So, and then before we go to the last question, so obviously, you with Nedbank, it's the green bank. So for all our renewable energy, water, agriculture, waste financing needs, it just aligns and it makes sense. What other funding or financing initiatives have you developed as part of your portfolio? I know that you've got quite a few that you've developed in the recent past. You just want to share a little bit, with the entrepreneurs and partners on the call.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about like SME and challenges they go through, you need to, first of all, as I was saying, understand what are the issues. Just have a look, and then you will see there's things that you sort of pop up. There's people that will come out of a program, either incubation or acceleration, and they're not quite ready, or the other side where they're supposed to be ready for, it's not ready for them, or they don't see them as bankable or investable. So there's that, and then there's people that are sort of in multiple, incubation or programs at the same time,
Yes.
and they hop, that's serial incubation, right?
Yeah.
So you really want to understand that what are the reasons for that. And I've spoken to, entrepreneurs before, and they will tell you, Maluta, I mean, first of all, you find that they just want maybe 50,000, the carrot at the end. So they go through the whole 12 months, 18-month program just for that. And that time, they are spending a lot of time away. Like I know Fetola, you guys will be flying people to Joburg and Cape Town and all that. Spending time out of their businesses to go and attend these things. Some skills they might have already gotten from another program, but there might be something yana. But in the end, they just want that, If you just give them the money that they require, then they will stop. They will go get that what they need to do, and because they're in the business, and then they are done, right? So you need to understand these nuances, right? And then you need to sort of like what we did with Fetola. We said, guys, there's a problem here. If my program or the project that I'm currently running is not able to meet the criteria of the next program that's supposed to be a natural progression to that, right? Then it means that I'm not, what am I doing? I'm wasting time. So we need to make sure that if the program, there's nothing that can be done about that program to change its criteria or whatever, then we must come to like develop one that will be able to help accelerate those guys. So they can get to a point where they're meeting those requirements, and then they go like that. So with the Fetola, the Nedbank Green Economy Fund with Fetola, that's what we do. So we want to like develop this grant funding mechanism that will help these guys accelerate their growth and success, so that it then unlocks other funding. The next phase 100%. Is concessionary funding, right? And patient and flexible and all that. And then you move on to the next step. You go the concessionary funding, which we are where I am now. We're launching that with one of the partners, and then which will then unlock commercial funding. Because the reality is that there's not enough grant funding. I think what people must understand. Is, although you want to keep getting this grant funding, it does run out because there's not much of it. But the moment you move along the funding journey into concessionary and then commercial, it's trillions. It's no longer a billion.
Exactly.
More. Then to be able to scale your businesses, if they are scalable, then it's much easier to do it on that side. And it doesn't mean that you are losing because you have to repay it back. These big businesses are built on debt. Agriculture, 80% of agriculture, production is debt.
100%.
And other businesses. So we need to get into that mentality that At some point, you need to wean yourself off from grant into other mechanisms for you to be able to grow and scale.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it is in your best interest to do it because commercial debt is the cheapest kind of debt. So the debt you get from your bank is the cheapest, you know, versus if you're going to be stuck in alternative finance with high interest costs, you know, 30-40%, you know, it's a tougher experience. So agreed with you. And I think we're certainly seeing the impact of that grant funding already in the early stages of its implementation on helping businesses to actually focus on what they need to focus on, which is sales, which is keeping their house in order, growing their businesses so that they can, you know, accelerate and not waste time in going from program to program. So that's an important insight. And yeah, very, very cool. And thank you for that, Maluta. So with Indalo, that's the concessionary layer, right? So that's the follow on from the grant fund. So you really were able to set up, as I'm hearing, the kind of development, the full development side of the financing spectrum. And is the goal to link that with commercial?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the goal. Because I mean, especially with green enterprises, you know, they are very, not everyone understands them, right? You know, the innovation risk and all these things.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are required by traditional commercial banks.
Yeah.
Because of how rigid those systems are, it's difficult to change. So you need to come. That's why I love data so much. You need to come with the data. So what we're doing with Fetola and then Indalo, I think the best thing that will come out of it is the data that will be able to support our hypothesis, right? That says green economy enterprise, green enterprises are sustainable and they are scalable and they can repay the debts. You know.
Awesome.
Obviously, you must still not have other things like maybe tangible collateral and all those other things that these guys will need. But if you can prove the case that if you invest in these guys, maybe on a cash flow basis or whatever the case might be, you'll be able to make money because they will be repaying. So that's 100%. What we're interested in, like what we'll be getting from Fetola and other in terms of how these enterprises are doing, how are they repaying, what is it? Especially not so much in the Indalo, then you'll be looking at the non-performing loans and all those things. Obviously, the next step with the Fetola will be to set up something like that. Then we'll see in terms of what has been the progress over time.
Awesome. Maluta, I know you're a very busy man, and I'm wanting to thank you so very much for your insights. It was truly valuable. I've learned stuff, so thank you for that. That was like your perspective is so refreshing. I don't know if you want people to contact you or like maybe I should ask, how do entrepreneurs gain access to the solutions that you've set up? So the special ones, you know, that are non-commercial.
Yeah, obviously we work through partners such as yourself, you know, NPOs, PBO, like ESOs. So we don't really work directly with enterprises or entrepreneurs because of how we are set up. So it's also much easier to work through a Fetola because then all of a sudden we've got like access to like 100 enterprises across different sectors. Then that's much easier for us to manage. I think so. Obviously, with Fetola Fund, then you need to go through Fetola and then Indalo, same thing. So I think that's the best way to go about it. I think it will be. I think for me, I will be wasting your time if you come directly to me because I'll be like, no, go to Fetola, go to wherever.
Yeah. So you'll just direct the traffic. No, that's awesome, Maluta. So I think what I'll do is I'll share the details of the various funds with everybody on the call. Maybe we'll do like a newsletter post this webinar. And I just wanted to thank you very much for your insights again, Maluta. It was truly appreciated. We've got 3 hands. I'm just gonna. Is it fine if we give them a chance to just ask the question and then because I know you might have to hop out soon.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay, cool. Veronica,
I'm happy. If there's a question.
Thank you so much. Veronica, your hand was up first. So I'll give you an opportunity for a very quick question, please.
Okay, good day. I just want to find out if you do fund for cooperatives.
Cooperatives.
No.
Yeah, go ahead, Maluta.
No, not directly. No, not us directly. Maybe through Fetola.
Yeah. So, yeah, Veronica, you can send us your details. We can chat about what the opportunity is, right? It needs to be a genuine growth opportunity. Cooperatives are very difficult to fund because of some of the issues that happens internally, but we can talk about it. So after this call, after this call, we'll connect with you. Is it France?
My man, how are you?
Well, thanks, and you, France?
Thank you.
Fine,
Thanks.
man. Can you see the youngsters around me? I'm surrounded by youngsters who are desperate in the rural areas at Kortong Hamatlala Taba. They don't know where to go, and they don't know where their next meal will come from, because rural areas are not that much regarded as a, I mean, maybe it's not rural areas, most of them are not South Africa. So how can Fetola try to transform our living conditions in the rural area? They tried some sort of businesses, but to no avail, because there's no one who's funding them, because they are only in cooperatives and agriculture. That's their source of businesses around here. How can Fetola help them?
Okay. France, I'm just going to answer that very quickly because that's a big, big question. And with all respect to our other hands that are up, please, can I ask you to just, we'll allow some time after the session is done for the questions. But France, just quickly to answer your question, you know, at Fetola, we're running a number of initiatives, Nedbank Foundation as well. They've set up quite a number of initiatives and invested quite deeply to help business owners, existing businesses, emerging businesses in the rural communities. So there needs to be a business case, right? At the end of the day, if there's an opportunity and you've thought out your idea, and you've workshopped it a little bit and you've tested it, then there might be an opportunity for you through one of the programs that they've initiated. There's a number of them, and we'll share those details so that you can get a view of what they are. But yeah, I think it's a big question and it's a complex issue. Hopefully, you know, we can give you some direction as we take this conversation forward. Is that okay, Frans?
Thank you then.
Thank you so much. Maluta, thank you very much for your time again. I appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the symposium.
No, thank you. Is Isabel here? I haven't seen her.
She is here. I think she left. She introduced the platform to everyone. So I think she jumped off.
Okay. No, thanks.
Cool stuff. Thank you so much. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Guys. Bye.
Guys, sorry, I think we're running a bit behind time. It's already 2 o'clock, so we should have been done. So I'm going to go through this quite quickly. Yeah, we'll attempt to send a summary of this with some notes where we can after the call. So I just wanted to quickly talk about, for the business owners in the room and for the investors alike, just understanding, you know, what the funders need. We heard from Maluta about his criteria and what he looks for. And it's not dissimilar to that, right? So what are funders actually looking for in a bankable application? That is the starting point of accessing finance for your green or circular business. So really, listen, kind of, you know, we've been managing funds and we have an inside view as to how funding applications are approved. So I think the first and most important one is you as the business owner, right? Your credibility, your background, and how you conduct your affairs. So the quickest way to get a sense of that is to see how you conduct your business on your bank statement, right? So that's the evidence. So do you mix your personal finances with your business finances? Are you spending your money without some kind of controls, or without or you just, you know, allowing any debit orders to go off, and there's no control over your finances, there's no budget to your spending patterns, it's just erratic, right? So that's not a good sign. Your years of business experience, so do you understand the industry that you're operating in? Do you kind of understand the market that you're operating in? And do you have a support team? So when things get tough, is there somebody around you, your staff, maybe a business advisor or mentor that you can rely on when things get tough, as they do? And then the second kind of one that is very important that Maluta also touched on is your data, right? I think this is probably where 90% of financing applications fail, because the data is, it's not, there's gaps in the data, or there are errors in the data, or the data is not sufficient enough to support your funding ask. So if I can leave you with anything, guys, is please try your best to make sure that your record keeping is in shape, that you are maintaining some kind of customer data system. And then if you are a green or circular business, if you are able to gather, track and trace and report on your environmental data. So how does your business have an impact on the environment? How much tonnages of waste are you processing? How much, you know, kind of kilowatts are you saving in energy use? How much liters of water are you saving, etc.? As a farming business, what sustainable farming practices are you using? How are you using technology to execute that? That's very important. And what that does for you as a green business is that it opens up the financing options that are available to you. So we know already that there's no free lunch just because your business has an environmental impact, but there is a greater opportunity set from a funding perspective if you are able to produce your environmental data. So where you can, please look into that, and there's things that we can do that we try to help entrepreneurs with through Hloolo. That's a nice channel for you to start kind of fixing the data part. And then lastly, don't ask for more money than you need. The amount of money that you ask for in your financing application, I would almost say that it needs to be less than what you need, and you need to be able to draw a straight line between every R1 that you invest and the amount of money from a profits perspective that you expect to come out at the end of the day. Then lastly, why are funding applications approved? Well, they're approved for three reasons. Number one, you've got a sound business plan or business strategy that is translatable into a financial forecast, right? So you've got a business plan in numbers. It's in the Excel spreadsheet. Your current performance is positive. So it's not a rescue. It's not come and help me and rescue my business and give me money and I don't know how I'm going to pay you back. You always need to think about that. How am I going to pay the investor back? Even though it might be grant funding, how will I be able to pay this person back? That or give them the return that they need. So people generally like to follow winners or be part of a winners club. And so positive momentum or positive business growth performance from a sales perspective is a very convincing argument for approving the funding. And then lastly, verifiable market access, skills and experience and systems and processes in the business. So we're assuming that all of that is taken care of. You've got a market opportunity, you've got the right skills to deliver to the customer, and then you've got the experience and the systems and processes to produce the data or the records that provide the evidence for the funding application. Cool. Those are your tips. So what does that all mean? So how do you kind of, action it and put it into practice? How is it going to be useful for you going forward? Sales gets you into business. Record keeping keeps you in business, and a verifiable, financially aligned or sound growth opportunity gets you the funding. So keep focusing on sales, keep doing what you're doing, keep growing your track record, invest in maintaining good operational processes and systems. That's half the battle won. So everything that you can, where you can generate evidence to show that this is how my business works. If you invest in maintaining good systems and processes, that's half the battle won, especially when it comes to producing the evidence. Bank everything. Where possible, keep the slips in the shoebox. So every transaction, every expense, every income, every sale, if you're not able to bank it, keep a receipt and put it in the shoebox, because when the funder comes around, or when the customer comes around and says, what's your operational track record, you have the physical evidence to prove it, right? Data is your best friend. Data is your currency, especially in your early stages of growth, where you're looking to access grant funding or concessional capital. And then your growth action plan, plus your financial forecast, plus your supporting documents must align. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to access any kind of investment opportunity or funding opportunity, right? Okay, that was a mouthful, and apologies for having to rush through that. I did want to allow our guest speakers some time. So, guys, some takeaways for the entrepreneurs, for the business owners in the room. Please check in with your accountants, with your admin staff, with your support teams on the soundness of your operational systems and the evidence if you are thinking of applying for funding. Benchmark and build your green finance readiness on Fetola's Hloolo platform. I hope that you've already registered, or the link should have been shared in the chat and will definitely be shared after this. Broaden your funding options through tracking, tracing, and reporting on your environmental impact. So are you saving customers on the environmental impact? For our impact investors and ESOs in the room, work with specialists with experience in sustainable and investable small businesses. Fetola's got more than 10 years experience in building green businesses through its programs. Invest in building quality and sustainable SME pipeline that result in viable deals. John, we're not going to get away with just cherry picking, unfortunately. I think as an ecosystem, we all collectively have to invest in building quality, sustainable investment opportunities, and then how can we use impact measurement tools that make sense and work for both ourselves as investors and for the entrepreneurs. At the moment, it seems quite tricky, challenging, and difficult. I'm tilting my hat to the team that we've been talking about this for some time, but can we come together and work on a measurement framework that is not going to cost us an arm and a leg or require so much more resources to get right, and something that's actually is a bit more long-lived from a tracking perspective. So that's the call to action. Please join the waiting list for the entrepreneurs. There's tons happening on Fetola's side, on the website. The links have been shared with you in the chat, and will go out in a kind of a newsletter. For our impact investors, let's talk. I think we've certainly not shared kind of all that we know. There's a lot that we've learned in the recent past. As you know, we've been working with green and circular businesses for some time now, and we are seeing so much opportunities to do things better, to reduce waste and to go for goal a lot quicker. But it will take a village to get the formula right. So looking forward to interacting with you, business owners, in various ways, impact investors, our other ecosystem partners. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. It's been wonderful to host you this afternoon. We hope that it was value adding. And I don't think there's time for questions. And so I'll just say that, join the links, get in touch with us, reach out to us if you'd like to connect after this call. Thank you very much, everyone.